It's Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's David Wilson. I'm Maurice Patton. We will be here with you for the next 2 hours talking local, regional, and national sports content, and fired up to do it. D-Dub, what's up?
Mo, I had to turn you down in my headphones a little bit. I had you turned all the way up. So
Oh,
your
turn me up.
excitement radiated through the computer into my eardrums that might need to be checked on right now. I'm doing well. Another beautiful day here in the mid-state. The sun's out. The topic the last couple of times I've been on the show is me looking out the window and seeing how brown my grass is from the lack of weather and rain not coming through the mid-state. Of course, we talked about this last week. The one day it did rain was when we were on the sidelines that Friday night in week 3. So, and it rained a little bit the other day. It was about 10 minutes, but my grass, man, it's just so brown. It's so dead.
So tell me, so you actually made it to the sidelines on that Friday night? Because I didn't get much further than the concession stand at Spring Hill. I don't think either team ever came out for the Glencliff Spring Hill game back in week 3 that took place.
Yeah.
So if you
So
actually made it to the sideline, then that was an improvement.
So of our crew, I feel like I'm one of the early arrivers on Friday nights for games. I try to get there at least an hour before kickoff, settle in, maybe talk to a couple coaches, check in, make sure everybody's healthy, good to go. So I got there to Ravenwood, and Green Hill and Ravenwood were warming up, was talking to some people on the sidelines, and then about 30 minutes before kickoff, lightning hit, sent us to the cars. So I didn't get rained on per se, but the drive home back, I did encounter some weather that was a little treacherous, but I stayed dry. So I guess that was the good part, but
That is the good part. That is
we
definitely
did
the
it again
good
on
part.
Saturday.
Yeah. You mentioned rain or lack thereof. I was supposed to umpire Tuesday afternoon and had a 6 o'clock start down in Franklin, and by 5:45 we were washed out because at about 20 after 5 the bottom fell out. And that's one of those deals where it wasn't actually raining at 6 o'clock, but the damage had been done. And for everything that they've got in Franklin, they don't have tarps. So you know
You go and
so
enjoy
I
your Tuesday night.
Yeah, exactly. And I hope your yard is looking a little bit better, but we don't
Mm.
need rain on Friday nights.
Or
Any other
tonight
time?
with some of us going to soccer matches.
That as well. Absolutely. So yeah, let's keep that in mind as we go forward. Anyway, big show. In the second hour, we will be joined by one of our teammates, Joe Sullivan from Main Street, Nashville. We'll be talking a little college basketball as there have been some developments. Most of our area teams have started practicing in some way, shape, or form, but also there's still some recruiting going on. And there's one team in particular that's hitting it pretty big over on West End here over the last little bit. So we will be checking in with Joe Sullivan in the second hour to kind of get caught up on the local hardwood scene. In the next segment, we will be joined on Coach's Corner by second-year Battle Creek football coach Justin BURUM. The Grizzlies picking up their first varsity victory this past weekend against Moore County, heading into regional play this weekend. Checking in again with Coach BURUM, getting the pulse on the Grizzlies as they get ready for their first region road trip over to Creekwood. We'll also be talking a little soccer, a little baseball. What else we got? Some football, both professional and collegiate. Oh, and we've got another little high school football tidbit to give you in the second hour as well. We'll talk a little WNBA, some hockey, plenty to get into. Jam-packed Throwback Thursday edition here on Main Street Sports Today. And we'll be throwing it back at the top of the 3 o'clock hour to a conversation we had earlier this week with Kevin Ingram of the Vanderbilt Radio Network. Nice little trip over to Columbia, South Carolina this weekend, and got the chance to speak with Kevin on Monday, and we'll be bringing that back to start the second hour. So be sure and check all of that out here. It's going to be a fun 2 hours. We're not going to talk a whole lot more weather, but it's going to be a fun couple of hours. So stick around with us. We're looking forward to it. Let's go ahead and get started, I guess, David, with yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
in the Tito Soleil on the volleyball court, it was Gallatin picking up a 3-2 set win over Liberty Creek in 5 sets. In district play, it was Spring Hill sweeping Giles County 3-0. In Major League Baseball, it was the Braves completing the sweep in the nation's capital against the Washington Nationals. Braves winners of that series finale 9-4. It was Wade's Astros trying to keep pace with the Mariners in a crowded AL West. It was Astros 5, Rangers 2 last night in the state of Texas. Up in Louisville yesterday, matinee action up in Louisville. It was the Nashville Sounds 4-1 victors over the Louisville Bats. In the WNBA playoffs, it was the Phoenix Mercury evening their series at the New York Liberty. Phoenix 86-60 victors over the New York Liberty. And it was the Minnesota Lynx picking up the series win over the Golden State Valkyries in the state of California. It was Minnesota 75, Golden State 74.
High school football action tonight. You can hear this one on Main Street Radio as the MSP radio game of the week. It'll be Wade Neely and Casey Patrick, Mike side, for Portland at Greenbrier, 7 o'clock kick. Also at 7, it's Ezel Harding at Joe Burns. Volleyball action this evening, 5 o'clock. Spring Hill travels to Marshall County. Webb School of Bell Buckle is at Middle Tennessee Christian at 5:45. Also at 5:45, Providence Christian goes to Franklin Christian, and Grace Christian of Franklin hosts Columbia Academy. 6 o'clock starts for Community at Battle Creek, Eagleville at Fayetteville, Smyrna at Laverne in a North Rutherford County tilt. Lincoln County goes to Lawrence County at 6. Also at 6, Mount Juliet hosts Gallatin. Mount Pleasant hosts Loretto. Forest goes to Murfreesboro Central. Oakland goes crosstown to Riverdale. Rockvale goes crosstown to Siegel. Stewart's Creek is hosting Wilson Central. Hampshire is at Summertown. And Columbia Central goes to Tullahoma. Again, all of those 6 o'clock starts.
Girls soccer action tonight across the TLSLA. 4:30 start for Greenbrier at Portland. So the Panthers and the Bobcats getting at it twice in the athletics this afternoon. It's Davidson Academy at DCA, 5 o'clock in a district match in Division II Single A. Also in Division II Single A, it's Ezel Harding making the trip over to Madison on Due West Avenue to face the Good Pasture Cougars. It's Friendship Christian taking on Mount Juliet Christian at 5 o'clock district play Division II Single A. Little Wilson County matchup right there. It's Kip Antioch Global at Smyrna in non-district play at 5 o'clock. Kip Nashville at Smyrna as well. At 5 o'clock as well. Nashville Christian at the University School of Nashville, Division II Single A matchup right there in district play. It was Hume Fogg at Antioch, 5 o'clock non-district action. Providence Christian at BGA, Division II Single A once again, 5:30 p.m. start on the south side of town. It's Jackson Northside at Dixon County, 5:30 first touch in non-district play. STEM Academy at John Overton, also at 5:30. 6 o'clock starts for the following. It's Hickman County at Lawrence County. White House Heritage at Liberty Creek in district play. It's Battle Creek at Murfreesboro Central Magnet in Rutherford County. 6 o'clock first touch. Fairview at Sycamore, also district play right there. It's Lebanon at Warren County. It's Columbia Academy at the Webb School. That is a district match. Macon County at White House, also a district match. McEwen at Cheatham County. Also at 6 o'clock, it is Cornersville at Culleoka, Russellville, Kentucky at East Robertson, Innsworth at Harpeth Hall in Division II AA. It is Creekwood at Kirkwood, 6 o'clock first touches for all of those. At 6:30, it is Logan County, Kentucky at Clarksville Northeast, Brentwood Academy at Father Ryan. It is Watertown making the trip into Nashville at Glencliff at 6:30. It is James Lawson at Martin Luther King at 6:30. CPA at Pope John Paul II, and Springfield at Station Camp. That is a district match, 6:30. Franklin Road Academy at Valor Collegiate, also 6:30 in non-district play. All 7 o'clock starts for the following. Nolensville at Centennial at 7 o'clock. That is a district match. It is Marshall County at Clarksville, 7 p.m. as they make the trip north of town. It's Page at Franklin, 7 o'clock in a district match. It is Columbia at Franklin County, district match there as well. Tullahoma at Giles County, 7 p.m. Lipscomb Academy at Hendersonville in non-district play. It is Green Hill making the trip to Sumner County at Merrill Hyde. It is Kenwood at Montgomery Central. I'll be at this one tonight. Feel free to tune in on social media, also at the Chronicle of Mount Juliet, the Gallatin News, and the Wilson Post. It is Gallatin making the trip to undefeated Mount Juliet on their senior night. Rockvale at Oakland, 7 p.m. First touch. Independence at Ravenwood, also at 7 p.m. Blackman at Riverdale. Beach at Rossview. Wilson Central making the trip to Rutherford County to Siegel, Brentwood at Summit, Clarksville Academy at West Creek, and Richland at Loretto. Not a start time there, but all the rest of those are at 7 p.m. The Nashville Sounds take on the Louisville Bats in Game 3 of their set in Kentucky. That is a 5:35 first pitch. In the WNBA, decisive Game 3 tonight. It is Indiana Fever traveling back to the A to take on the Atlanta Dream. That is a 6:30 tip-off on ESPN2. And at Michelob Ultra Arena tonight is the Seattle Storm taking on the Las Vegas Aces. That is an 8:30 first tip. In the National Football League tonight, you can find this one on Amazon Prime at 7:15. It is an AFC East showdown between the winless Miami Dolphins taking the trip to New York to face on the undefeated Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. 7:15 kickoff on Amazon Prime with Al Michaels and Kurt Herbstreit. Ladies and gentlemen, those were your scores. That was your schedule, and that concludes today's rundown.
David Wilson doing yeoman's work on the back half of that rundown. A lot of volleyball across Middle Tennessee tonight. Top story coming to you courtesy of Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And it comes to you from the pitch, specifically from the pitch in Austin, Texas, as that's where Nashville SC will be facing off against Austin FC for the U.S. Open Cup Championship. That matchup is set for October 1st at Austin's Q2 Stadium after Austin defeated Minnesota United 2-1 last night in extra time in the other U.S. Open semifinal. Of course, the boys in gold defeated Philadelphia Union for the third time this season on Tuesday night to clinch their spot in the U.S. Open Cup final. But again, they will travel to Austin. Austin, a 2-1 winner over Minnesota United. They scored in the 120th minute to win that championship game berth against NSC. Previously, Austin had defeated El Paso Locomotive, the Houston Dynamo, and the San Jose Earthquakes to advance to last night's semifinal matchups. So again, October 1st in Austin, it will be the Nashville Soccer Club and the Austin Football Club at Austin for the U.S. Open Cup Championship. It would be the first hardware of any sort that NSC has won, should they be able to pull that out on October 1st. And I'm sure we'll be talking a lot about that between now and then, but huge matchup coming up for NSC.
I'm sure Wade will be definitely tuned in for that. He is the resident soccer expert of Main Street Sports Today, so I'm sure he'll have all the full breakdown. That would be the first professional trophy of a championship variety for the city of Nashville, correct? Obviously, the Titans have not won a Super Bowl yet. Does that count in your mind? I've seen some talk on Twitter that it would be. I just wanted your thoughts on that. I can see
You
it
know,
both ways, I guess.
well, I mean, the Sounds won the Pacific Coast League in 2005, I think. So a
Okay.
lot of folks over at First Horizon would kind of
Yeah,
pull a Lee Corso on you. Not so fast, my friends. I mean, it's
it's true.
it's kind of nebulous, I think. But I mean, I don't think it lessens the accomplishment should the Nashville Soccer Club actually get it done. Um, and I'm one of those folks, I guess, in sports that you don't have to dim somebody else's light to make yours brighter necessarily. I mean, we can certainly celebrate this without the it being the first professional championship, blah blah blah. Just enjoy it for what it is, I think. But really looking forward to it. Apparently, Nashville and Austin, this would be the fifth meeting between the two. Nashville has won twice, Austin has won once, and they played to a draw. Um, Austin won 2-0 in BJ Callahan's MLS debut atop the Nashville Soccer Club last year. So BJ probably looking for a little get back, if nothing else. But yeah, this it's exciting stuff, I think, regardless. Just the fact that you have made it to the final two in a pretty prestigious competition such as this is a big deal, and it's to be enjoyed, and hopefully these guys can come through with it. Coming off that big win against Philadelphia Union the other night, Sam Surridge with the hat trick in that win. Hopefully they can ride that another couple of weeks. I mean, it's they've got some MLS business to take care of between now and then, but this is big. And to your point, Wade would have more to say about that. He would have a lot more feel for, the significance of it. Ditto for Valera Shabilla, one of our favorite guests from 615soccer.com. I'm sure we'll try to grab him here at some point to talk a little bit about how this has all transpired. But yeah, big matchup coming up when Nashville goes to Austin on October 1st for the U.S. Open Cup Championship matchup. We will, again, be talking more about that here over the next couple of weeks. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, as we continue Throwback Thursday. When we come back, we'll get into Coach's Corner. We will visit with Battle Creek football coach Justin BURUM. Stick around.
All new Sportsbook, the latest gaming machines, live horse racing, and more. The Mid Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs. Winning just got closer.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Busy bee, yeah, busy bee. If you need...
Hold on, y'all, hold on. I need to make a call. Hey, this is Brianna with Busy Bee. I'm giving you a call to let you know your technician is on his way.
833.
Busy bee. Guys, not yet. Not yet.
Busy bee, oh,
Now I'm ready,
bee.
guys.
Call 775-7833.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Throwback Thursday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's David Wilson. This is Coach's Corner, and joining us now from Battle Creek High School, second-year football coach Justin BURUM. The Grizzlies made a little history this past weekend, defeating Moore County 28-7 for their first varsity football victory after playing last year as a junior varsity program as a first-year school. Coach BURUM, first of all, thanks for taking some time with us.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you having us on.
Absolutely. And second of all, congratulations. 21 unanswered points to close out that win against Moore County this past weekend. And I mean, I can't imagine what the environment was like as you guys were putting that thing to bed the other night.
Man, it was a great atmosphere, man. It was finally the kids got to reap the rewards of the hard work they've been putting in since we got here. It kind of just all came together, really. Defense had 6 turnovers, 5 interceptions, a forced fumble. Offense got it clicking. We had a chance to probably should have scored on our first drive, but we missed a read on a critical down, and we ended up turning it over on downs. But defense got an interception literally 2 plays later, and we go down, and I think we score in like 3 or 4 plays. And that kind of relaxed them a little bit, and we just kind of preached to them, like, remember the last time you were here before Mount Pleasant. Last time you was here, we faced a really good Independence team, and they jumped up on us, I think 14-0, something like that. We had several kids that didn't get to play that game because of some stuff that had happened, but they jumped up on us 14-0. And the kids that we didn't expect to start ended up starting, but they rallied and they fought, and we ended up winning that game 28-21. They scored late. But they fought, and that's what it's about, been about a Creek Grizzly, and they came out and they did that, and it's reflected in the score.
One of the things that I would think you had to be kind of pleased with, Coach, was explosive plays. I mean, your first touchdown's a 47-yard pass from Colton Barber to Devin Green. Stanley Williams Jr. goes 95 yards to the house, and then Williams closes it out with a 50-yard pick six. I mean, did you feel like you guys, even under optimal circumstances, had the ability to be that explosive?
I think I felt that way since I've been here. I've said it to the staff, and I said it to the kids, and I've said it to some coach fans. Like, we got some really, really explosive kids. They don't know it, but like, you see the kids wear the trackers and stuff. But the Titan vest, for instance, we wear. I had a kid already hit 23 miles an hour. Stanley Williams has hit 22, 21 miles an hour. Had a quarterback hit 19 the other day. I had multiple kids hit 20. So I know we have the ability to be explosive. We just haven't quite put it all together, some shape, form, or fashion, and it's starting to show its head. So hopefully we can put it together again another week and really go out there and embody what we've been preaching and what we've been trying to harp on. And really, if the score don't reflect it, maybe their play does, and we get to see those things. But we for sure want to continue to build off of this, and then would have been a region opponent, go ahead and get a win and try to secure us a spot for the playoffs.
Justin, you mentioned just all the hard work that goes into building a program, a first-year varsity program, second-year program overall. Take us inside the locker room when you're talking to the guys after this past Friday night, just the emotions of them finally reaping the rewards of that, getting that first win of the season, the first one in the program history.
Man, it was a great environment. We just kind of told them, like, this is what we've been waiting for you guys to see, kind of that aha moment. But it was great to see smiles on their face and not see them come in. And we have to tell them, like, look, I know it seems like it wasn't in our favor score-wise, but you guys grew. You're going to have to give them that speech. And they kind of get to relax and get that woosah and get that pressure off their back. One of the coaches like, when you go pull that grizzly off your back, I was like, nah, that thing's long gone. It was gone at the end of that fourth quarter. So it was good for them to kind of relax and have fun and come in this week and not have to have a pressure of winning. You know what I mean? You always want to get that first one out the way, but as I challenge this week, after you get the first one, the hard part comes. Now you got to get the second one. So that's what we're going to try to go get done.
And I'm glad you mentioned that word growth right there as before I kick it back to Mo really quickly. I know he's chomping at the bit. Just talk about how this program has grown, obviously from last year competing just in JV till now as a varsity program heading into week 5. Just the growth that you've seen from your players in your program and how it probably seems like they can get better each and every week when they step out on the field.
Oh, most definitely. We do a thing where we write index cards, and the guards, you got your individual goal, you got a goal that can help another teammate or a person, and then you got a team goal. And our team goal, we all have the same team goal, and it's to show growth in everything that we do. And that's really big for us because we're so young. People don't understand that these kids that we have here, they haven't been a part of a program where they got to see senior leadership for the last 2 years. When they came to us, we were freshman and sophomore. So when we did get them, they were freshmen on the team previously. And then the freshmen we inherited, they were in middle school. So they haven't really got to be part of a program where they got to see it run from the top down with seniors and juniors. They kind of got thrown in the fire. So they kind of got to lead and they got to find their way. And that's kind of the best part about building it from the ground up is the kids that's here now are going to set that foundation and set that. Do you want to be remembered as the kid that could have, would have been, or you want to be remembered as the kid that helped build that and set that growth and set that foundation and to show what leading from the top looks like, even though you're a young guy?
Justin BURUM of Battle Creek High School joining us here on Main Street Sports today on Coach's Corner. And Coach, it's a quarterback-driven sport. Colton Barba, and you and I spoke a little bit about him after the Mount Pleasant game, I guess, and a little bit after the Columbia Central game the following week. Friday night, 8 of 14 for 210 yards, threw for a couple of touchdowns, had a pick. But one of the things that you mentioned is he's not necessarily a practice player.
That's the truth. The kid, he practices, he gets it done, but it's like, kid, like, come on, man, like lock in. And he makes the good reads, he does the things, but it's just something about him on Friday nights. Like, he has a different look in his eye, he has a different demeanor. And he's a really, really, really good kid that works his tail off. Both of our quarterbacks are. It kind of sucks because Brody Orton hasn't got a chance to try to showcase his talents because Barber's been handling business. And like you said, it's quarterback driven. So you never know when your name's going to get called. You never know when your name will be called to come in and make a play. But Barber's he's been on it, man. The biggest thing with him is we told him you got to be more vocal. You got to lead vocally. But when he's out there and he's playing, he just gets in his zone. He's even keel. The crazy part is from last Friday, like I said, the opening drive, he honestly probably should have been 9 of 15, probably for about 250. Because the opening drive, we call it concept. And the first read pops wide open. And if he hits him, the kid that catches it, Chris Lemming, he probably splits him and goes because they're in like some type of man, and the guy that's chasing him is nowhere near him. But he kind of doesn't see it and just chucks it to Stanley, and Stanley's covered. So we end up turning it over. But after that happens, we come back. We get the turnover, like I said, on defense. 3 plays later, he comes back, and then he takes the top off with Devin Green to take that one, and then we're just rolling. Sounding similar, the same thing happened with the Stanleys. Kind of better to be lucky than good sometimes. We run a screen on the previous series, a couple series before. Nobody's there but the corner. He slips up to make the tackle on Stanley. We punt. We come back a couple series later. It's 3rd and long, backed up inside our 5. And we throw that screen. And Barber does such a great job of what he's coached to do when we run these concepts is we want to keep our eyes downfield. We want to hold the safety, not let him get a jump. So the linebacker drives on the route, but when he looks back at Colton's still looking downfield. So the kid hesitates. Colton flips on the ball, and probably by the hair on your skin, that the kid misses the ball for a pick 6, which would have made it 14-14. Stanley catches it and goes 95. And that's just kind of what he does. You know what I mean? He's cool, he's calm. No, he never gets too high, too low, and he finds a way to get it done.
You know, you talked about him missing a read to Lemming and going to Stanley. And it sounds like the other night going to Stanley wasn't necessarily a bad idea. 4 catches for 115. But Lemming scored both your touchdowns against Columbia Central a couple of weeks ago, one of them from 75 yards out. So both pretty good choices, it seems like, over the course of the season to this point.
Oh, most definitely. And that's what people kind of don't know about these guys is the top three guys are super, super explosive. Then you had a transfer kid that came in and hit 23 miles an hour on the tracker against Mount Pleasant. He's been playing defense, and we're actually going to try to give him some touches this week offensively. But those 3 guys, I mean, they can roll. They can roll with anybody in the area. And I'm kind of glad we get to kind of showcase the speed and the talent of these guys here coming up. We'll love to get the running game going because Jay Sean and Voorhees and Zay, they're pretty athletic too for running back. So,
you know, you head over to Creekwood to open Region 5-4A action this weekend, and you've got some momentum going, obviously. How do you get these guys refocused?
That you got to reset your mind to 0-0. Everything that we still want to accomplish is ahead of us. And we can put a big dent in that accomplishment this week if we go out to Creekwood and take care of business and secure a region win. We got a 5-team region. So 1 win gives you really, really good odds to play the first week in November. And that is our goal, is to be playing and have a shot. Because when you reset to November, everybody's 0-0. And it's a week-by-week basis. One of the best things about this sport is when you line up to play on a Friday night, if you do your job to the best of your ability, sometimes the chips fall your way.
For this program, there were a lot of firsts achieved across the athletic program at Battle Creek last year. For you guys to dare to dream, as Wade would like to say, about making a postseason appearance in your first season of varsity competition. I mean, when you got this thing started last year and you were slogging through a junior varsity schedule and a bunch of Monday night games, and as you mentioned to me at the time, trying to turn Monday night into Friday night, how realistic did you feel like this was, that you guys could have a shot at postseason play in your first year as a varsity program?
I didn't really know how realistic it was at the time, just for the simple fact I didn't know what classification or what region we were going to be in. We got a decent region. Marshall County's a heavy hitter. Creekwood, they remind me a lot on film with Lincoln County, just how they want to do things offensively and schematically. And then you got Montgomery Central, who's up the road in Clarksville County or Montgomery County. And then you got the team across the highway. So I think everything kind of works its way to where we all can meet up and let the chips fall their way. I like our odds. We just got to play. If we play our style of brand, I think we got a good shot at it. But we got to do it consistently and do it relentlessly. You can't just have it 1 week and then off, and once again and then off. You got to put it all together, and you kind of got to build from week to week.
You might have picked up on his team across the highway. That would be Battle Creek's reference to Spring Hill, which is an October 17th matchup. It follows an off week. It is the fourth consecutive region game for the Grizzlies. Again, they open over at Creekwood tomorrow night. They've got Marshall County and Montgomery Central coming to them the next couple of weeks. And then after that idle date on October 10th, they will go across the highway to take on Spring Hill on October 17th. Coach, what do you like about your schedule and the way it sets up as far as you get into region play and you're in it for the next 4 games?
A lot of people thought I was crazy. Schedule was so heavy at the beginning, but I honestly want to see one of the kids to be battle tested. I didn't want to go into region play or going in if we have a chance to do something and not be blinded and not be tested up front. High school football is won in the trenches, and those first 3 games really was a testament to that. Coach Clarksfield at Mount Pleasant does a really good job and been aggressive on defense, and he's done some really good things at Mount Pleasant. He's kind of been the face of Murray County football with the way they've been winning. And then you always got to go down south to Central and Coach Goff, and they just have big bodies. So we want to line up against those guys and keep it in county. It's good to keep things close. One of the reasons we want to be here in Murray County is because of the talent. So we want to keep everything in-house. And then you go down south to Lincoln County. And if you know anything about Lincoln County, they in the 90s, they were a powerhouse. They want to line up. And they want to be physical. So those first 3 to 4 games, we want to kind of line up and be physical. And then I put more county in there because of the success they've had for a single A or 2A program here in the state. They've been really, really good. So we kind of just want to see what our trenches can do and kind of hold up with people, because we know at the end of the day, you got to be able to run the ball and stop the run at the high school level. So now when we get into region play with Marshall County, they're pretty big and they're pretty aggressive. So that was kind of my mindset with that. And then jumping in the region, we just got to compete. We got to find a way to just do what we do and trust our success and trust our process. Montgomery Central is a young team like us. Across the highway, they're looking to build just like we're looking to build. So I like our odds and it all.
Now, Coach, you came in from Georgia, but you are a Tennessee native. You've got some experience in Tennessee and in the area coaching. How much has that kind of helped you through this transition into your first head coaching role?
It's been crucial. Just having guys in the area that coach ball currently or have coached ball. And then Coach Stevens been my mentor from East Tennessee. He's also my stepdad's first cousin. So to have family that's in it and you can speak honestly and open with, and they can be truthful with you, it helps. The best part is when you're in with a group of coaches that you're close with or you can talk to and you can help, it's pretty easy to get film or get what you want to get prepared. And that's the biggest thing. You can look at as much film as you want. And at the end of the day, you got to treat it to these kids and get these kids going. And our biggest thing is trying to get them motivated to play, show them the film, show them the look, show them great examples of what we're trying to do and get them to go after it.
Justin, I'm going to really quickly build on that question that Mo just asked you. Obviously, your first head coaching job. What stood out to you about the Battle Creek opening that made it so appealing for you to come back to the mid-state? Obviously, you mentioned the talent that is in the north side of that county that probably stuck out to you a little bit, but just kind of walk me through maybe the beginning of your mindset of why Battle Creek really stood out to you.
It was a unique situation just because there was nothing that you have to go in and fix. When you talk about building a program, you get to go in and set your culture, set your foundation. Murray County's always had athletes. You go back and look at from Fred Sparkman to you go back and look at Shaq Mason and just look at the amount of talent that's here to even, I think it was the Odin kid that was across the highway. They ended up going to Louisville. Like talent has been here. They're back up next to Bedford and Rutherford County, and then Williamson County. So talent has never been a shortage here in Murray County. So if you can get into the county and then on top of that, you get to build a brand new school, $140 million brand new school with top of the line facilities. And then you add in the great administration with Mr. Kennard and Dr. T and Mr. Thomason and now Mr. Churko. They're very athletic driven along with being academic driven, and they understand because they've coached, they're being a part of it. It was just one of those things that kind of when you put it together and being a first time opportunity as a head coach, it's one of the things that it kind of aligns and you can't turn that down.
Justin BURUM, Battle Creek, second-year football coach, joining us here on Coach's Corner on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Justin, I got to go back for just a second because you've been in this game for a minute, whether as a player, as an assistant coach, as a head coach. When you see a kid who isn't a practice player and you get that, Coach, I'm a game player. I'm not. I mean, how do you resist if you don't get it done in practice? You're not going to get a chance to show me you do it in a game. How do you not take that approach in that situation?
It's kind of crazy because the first time it actually happened was when I was at Laverne. Then it happened again in Georgia, and then been here. It's just like, kid, like, come on, man. Like, what are we doing? Like, it's frustrating at times because you know the kid can play better, they can do better. And you want to push them, you want to motivate them. But at the same time, when they get on the field and you see what they produce, and then they come up like, Coach, I'm trying. And you can tell when a kid is really trying to go and practice, it's just not working. You can tell that. The problem, the biggest problem is when you got those kids that really can't get themselves going, that their motor's not there in practice. Those are the ones that's frustrating because you're like, kid, you can't just flip a switch and go chase this down or flip a switch and go after and get it. And then you see a kid that's 6'5", 310, decides he wants to maul people. He just doesn't do it in practice. It's like, okay, maybe you can flip a switch on Friday night and go get it done. But it's frustrating because you want everything to be perfection in practice. You want to see everybody at their best, but sometimes they just don't get it done. And it sucks because it's frustrating. But at the end of the day, you know the kid can ball and the kid can go, and he shows you can go on Friday. You put him where you can make a play.
There you go. Justin BURUM showing some patience in his first year of varsity coaching up at Battle Creek. Coach, Coach, we appreciate it. Good luck to y'all this weekend over at Creekwood, and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for having me. Go Grizzlies.
There we go. Hey, before we get out of this segment, we need to bring you up to speed on our weekly awards. First of all, our Custom Stone Handlers In to Win Life Team of the Week. Besides the military, there is no greater team building experience than athletics. Custom Stone Handlers encourages you to get in the game. Our In to Win Life Team of the Week is the Battle Creek Grizzlies. Again, 21 unanswered points in a 28-7 win over Moore County this past week, their first varsity victory on the gridiron. Congrats to the Grizzlies. Great performance, great accomplishment, and hopefully for them, the first of many. And our Main Street Media, Southern Middle Tennessee, TOA of Columbia Athlete of the Week is the aforementioned Stanley Williams Jr. Again, 4 catches for 115 yards, including a 95-yard touchdown reception, 6 tackles, 1 for loss, 2 interceptions, 1 pick six from midfield. Not bad for a sophomore. Stanley Williams Jr., our Main Street Media, Southern Middle Tennessee, TOA Columbia Athlete of the Week. Congratulations to him, to his teammates, and to Coach BURUM. And that's going to close out Coach's Corner here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Let's take a break, come back, talk a little baseball. Stick around.
Columbia Power and Water Systems is dedicated to bringing our customers reliable local service. Whether you're turning on a light switch, your faucet, or streaming on TV, our dedicated team members from here in Murray County work every day to keep you on. If you need us, call us 931-388-4833 or visit cpws.com. CPWS, local service, local support.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
March 1962. Embracing the spoiler role, the Milwaukee Braves cut the visiting Dodgers NL lead over San Francisco to 3.5 games with a 10-5 victory. Los Angeles couldn't do anything with the Aaron brothers as Hank doubled, homered, and scored 3 times, while Tommy went 3 for 4 with a double and drove in 3 runs. The home run was the 40th of the year for the Hammer, who had finished with a league-leading 45. That was this day in Braves history. He's no Hank Aaron, but Matt Olson's on a nice little run right now. Homered yesterday in the Braves' 9-4 victory at Washington. He's homered in 5 of his last 6 games. He has homered on 5 straight days because he did not homer in one of the doubleheader contests on Wednesday. So, again, Matty O on a little bit of a tear. I think he's up to 28 now, trying to get to 30 before the season ends. Went 3 for 5 in that 9-4 victory yesterday. Acuna also went 3 for 5. Atlanta pounded out 16 total hits. And, I mean, it makes you wonder, where's this been all year? But, I mean, it was also against the Nats. So, you know.
Yeah, I mentioned it yesterday with Calvin. We were celebrating. It seems like on Tuesday, the Braves never win. So Calvin and I can't discuss a win on Wednesday, if that makes sense. So Calvin and I were talking yesterday, and I told Calvin, Matt Olson is quietly having one of his best seasons. Outside of the home run numbers, obviously he's the franchise record holder a couple of years ago where he hit over 50 home runs, just 28 home runs. But from a batting average perspective, one of the better years of his career. I mean, I think we all can admit that he's one of the leading candidates at first base for a Gold Glove. He's played really good defense over there at first, and so he's quietly had a really good season compared to what the Braves have had. Obviously, a disappointing season that they're guaranteed a losing record. But you mentioned it, Mo. The offense finally kind of putting things together, and there's still some pieces missing in that lineup. Obviously, Sean Murphy out for the rest of the season. He's going to be a piece in that lineup that you think going into next year. Obviously, Austin Riley not anchor in the hot corner with his ab injury. So there's some pieces still left. I think Braves fans are really excited about what Ha-Seong Kim has given them thus far. We'll see how that pans out this offseason. Obviously, has a player option, but I think you like the way that they're going, and hopefully they can just continue to play better baseball down the stretch and be competitive. You have to like what Hurston Waldrop did on the mound once again yesterday. So, I mean, there's some bright spots in what's been a disappointing season, and to end my long-winded soliloquy, it hurts not being in the playoff picture and in the race at this point in the season and looking at the playoffs and us not being a part of it. But just understanding where we are to see us playing a little bit better, that's a good sight to see.
It really is, and I mean, it kind of creates the opportunity to close out 2025 with a relatively good taste in our mouth for the fact that, like you said, we won't be in the playoffs, and sometimes a little rain makes you appreciate the sun a little more. I don't know, but yeah, to your point about Hurston Waldrop, though, 5 innings pitched, 8 strikeouts, improved to 5-1 yesterday, and if we hadn't gone through, and I say we, you know, come at me, but if we hadn't had all the injuries in the pitching staff that have taken place this year, then you wouldn't have found out about Hurston Waldrop, and he has been quite a find. Again, you go back last year and did not pitch very well in limited opportunities with the big club a year ago. Came back and has really kind of been a different cat and has been, what this team has needed. Somebody that you knew could go out there every fifth day, because that's not been the case a lot this year. So definitely that's another piece that you feel pretty comfortable about going into next season. And they're going to have to make some decisions about some arms once everybody gets healthy, probably. But those are the decisions that you like to have to make, as opposed to, do we run Didier Fuentes out there for another game, or, something like that. But again, sometimes you have to go through these type situations to really have an appreciation for the runs of multiple divisional titles and multiple postseason berths and that kind of thing. And hopefully some folks have learned a little perspective from all of this. But I'm going to enjoy this 5-game win streak. They're off tonight. They go to Detroit tomorrow, running it to 6, which would be a season high. They won 5 straight last month when they defeated the Mets. They swept Cleveland. And who was the 5th one against? They won 5 straight. They beat the Mets twice in mid-August, and then they went to Cleveland after that. They were in New York. They won the last 2 of 3. They won 3 straight at Cleveland, and then came home and lost to the White Sox. But this is their second 5-game streak of the season, which is their longest. Again, not holding out much hope as Bryce Elder goes to the mound tomorrow night against Charlie Morton, but we'll see. Depends on which Charlie we get. Depends on which Bryce we get.
Have the Tigers already locked things up in the AL Central?
I don't know that they have.
So we might be on champagne watch, at least on one side of the clubhouse for the other side. So
they have not clinched.
so
Nobody
they
has
got something to
clinched
play for.
anything in the American League yet.
I mean, we've been talking about it all year, how wide open the American League is. Obviously, I'm keeping my eye on this National League wild card race, considering that the Diamondbacks kind of punted at the deadline, and they're just nipping right at the heels of the Mets, who I believe lost to the Padres last night. So that'll be an interesting watch. But yeah, the playoff races, particularly in the AL West, where you got the Mariners and the Astros going back and forth, that'll be something to keep an eye on to the last day of the regular season.
Absolutely. Houston went up a half a game on Seattle yesterday. Houston defeating the Rangers 5-2. Altuve with a home run in that win. Kansas City knocking off the Mariners 7-5, snapping Seattle's 10-game win streak. So, again, Houston with a half-game lead on the Mariners as we speak. Seattle and Kansas City are playing right now. Seattle leads that one 1-0 in the top of the 8th. So if that holds up, then once again, you've got a flat-footed tie atop the American League West heading into the weekend. You mentioned the Padres and Mets. San Diego with a 7-4 win last night over the Mets. The Dodgers blanking Philadelphia 5-0. And so the Dodgers lead the NL West by 2 games. Padres and Mets are playing right now as well. Mets winning 6-1 through 8. Dodgers play at home against San Francisco. That's a 9-10 first pitch tonight. So the Dodgers could be up by half a game again, still by the end of the day today. We'll see how that plays out. Congrats to the Cubs. Congrats to Teresa Walker and Rob Nundley and Dexter Jones and a few other folks. The Cubs clinched a postseason berth yesterday. So 3 of your playoff berths, again, all out of the National League, have been claimed. The Phillies, the Brewers, and now the Cubs. So
we were looking at it yesterday, Mo, just the playoff picture. Our friend producer Mark put up a big graphic of what the playoffs would look like if they started today. And what kept my eye was the potential matchup in the NLDS between the Phillies and the Dodgers. That would draw a lot of attention across the country just because 2 big market teams, 2 teams that are all in this season. You got to think, man, Philly's got to pay it off at some point with the runs and the teams that they've had. As Mark pulls it up, if the Phillies get bounced in the NLDS by the Dodgers or the Mets once again, they have to make some changes or look themselves in the mirror this offseason of why they can't get it done and win a World Series with the talent that they have. Also looking at that Cubs Padres wildcard series, that's going to be awesome at Wrigley. So that'll be fun to watch. And then obviously, can the Brewers continue their little magic carpet run and get to the World Series, at least on the National League side? That's what I'm looking forward to.
You know,
and the Yankees and the Astros hate each other. So them in the wild card series will be fantastic, and it'll probably send up Wade's blood pressure.
The Yankees and the Astros do hate each other. I'm looking at this graphic here, and I think the matchup that I would most love to see and the matchup that MLB would most hate to see would be probably Detroit and Milwaukee.
2 small markets.
I could get with that. And, you know, Milwaukee, with obviously their ties to the Nashville Sounds as their AAA affiliate, a lot of players with the Brewers right now. A lot of players have been with the Brewers who are with Nashville right now. It's kind of amazing the number of transactions, and I've not gone back and really looked, but just as we've discussed throughout this season, the amount of movement between Milwaukee and Nashville over the course of this season, and for Milwaukee to be the number 1 seed as it stands right now in the National League for everything that they've dealt with from a health and from a, promotions, demotions, movement is really kind of intriguing to consider. But I would not mind at all a Milwaukee-Detroit matchup, I don't think.
Yeah, and for me, I guess an important note is a couple years ago when the Braves won the World Series in 2021, the Braves organization gave their AAA and AA front offices rings. So I would like maybe if the Milwaukee Brewers won a World Series that some of our buddies over at the Nashville Sounds, Doug Scopel, Adam English, Corey Hilburn, etc., maybe they could get a little bling for the Brewers winning. So maybe an incentive for the Brewers to get it done. Obviously, this is the postseason scenario going into yesterday. You can flip now the Mariners and the Astros, and I believe that will not be the last time we flip them with the Astros taking the lead in the AL West. But we're going to be in for a good postseason. I just hate that we do not see an A in the National League bracket on anywhere. So
it's very unfortunate. It really does kind of hurt. It's a little painful when you see it laid out right there and you don't see that A, which is not the Alabama A, y'all. I was out the other day and I had on a cap and a t-shirt, and a lady looked at me and said, "I like your cap and t-shirt." And she didn't say Roll Tide. I was a little taken aback. But you mentioned Philadelphia, David, in the postseason, and some of the signings that they've made, some of the acquisitions that they've made. Looking at you, Bryce Harper. If they don't get it done this time around, a lot of people in Philadelphia have to look really hard at themselves and at their situation and figure out, what are we doing? So,
And there's no Wheeler this time around.
yeah. And, I'm no Philly fan, but I hate to see teams lose key pieces like that, regardless of who it is, because you don't want that to be the reason that you don't have success. So maybe Philly will figure something out as far as that goes. We mentioned the Sounds. They won 4-1 up at Louisville yesterday, evening that series, the final series of the regular season, final series of the season, as it turns out, for the Sounds. Tyler Black with 3 hits in that one. Big number for the Nashville Sounds coming out of yesterday's win, though. 301 stolen bases. It's the most in AAA baseball. Didn't realize they had run that much. Did you, David?
They do. They run a bunch. I believe Jared Oliva has over 50. So
and
they get
Reynel
after it on the
Delgado
bases.
has 40, I believe. So I like
Yeah.
that. I like that. I like
They are the literal twin of the Brewers. I mean, we think about the Brewers big league club with the speed that they have, Churio, Freelick. Those guys just run the bases really, really hard. And so, like father, like son, like parent club, like minor league team. So that's how it works.
There we go. Let's take a break here.
Would you like to guess, Mo, before we?
Sure.
Would you like to guess really quickly before we go to the break? Who, knowledge really quickly, do you know who won the first half and the second half in the International League and who's going to play in the International League Championship Series here next
I
week?
do not. I just know it wasn't Nashville.
I'll give you okay. Nashville finished second in the first half. I believe it's going to be Jacksonville and Scranton Wilkes-Barre. So the Yankees and the Jumbo Shrimp affiliate, Miami Marlins. And then on the West Coast, I believe it's the Las Vegas Aviators, who are the AAA of the A's, and Tacoma, which is the AAA of Seattle. So I believe those series are going to be set. So minor league season not all the way done. We got some playoff minor league baseball next week for those of you who are purists that want to catch some minor league ball.
There we go. Let's take a break as we close out hour number 1 here on Throwback Thursday on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we will throw it back to our recent conversation with Kevin Ingram of the Vanderbilt Radio Network, talking a little Commodores and Gamecocks. Stick around. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
Is your internet slowing you down? It's time for an upgrade. Whether you're at home, working from your home office, or at your business, it's time to unleash the speed you need with speeds up to 1 gig at CPWS for as low as $70 a month. Give us a call, 931-375-7777. Local service, local support, CPWS.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
As we now welcome in Kevin Ingram to talk a little bit more about this ball game. Kevin, thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, glad to. Sorry, guys, run a little behind. I was on another call, but man, it's great to be with you. And always, as always, it's great to see my logo on the screen. I mean, I feel like that's a key part of my visits here.
Loyalty.
I have to ask, do you have a logo on any other show that you go on, Kevin?
I do not. No, I've never had a logo on anything, I don't think. But, I feel like I joined the. I mean, you think about great logos like, Air Jordan or LeBron or, whoever it is. I mean, the Kingram logo has got it ranked right up there.
Some are saying.
I'd like, yeah.
That's right.
If you want to, digitize that and throw it on a shirt or a cap or something like that, we'll allow it. But,
yeah, I've had, calls from all different athletic apparel brands about, possibly doing something like that. So we'll see if we can make that happen.
There you go. Kevin, as Saturday night unfolded, how much, how off guard were you maybe taken by the events of the night?
Well, you go back 2 weeks and Vanderbilt played at Virginia Tech and played really, really well on the road in that game. Got off to a slow start, trailed 20-10 at halftime, and then just blew their doors off in the second half and won 44-20. So I think that was maybe a little bit of an attention getter, but I think also a confidence builder for this team to go on the road again and play in another hostile environment. South Carolina is one of the great stadiums of college football. I would say it's one of the most underrated places to play, not only in the SEC, but probably in the country. And you knew for a game that basically started at 8 o'clock Eastern time that it was going to be cranked up. Fans have had all day to get ready, and their tailgate scene was great and everything. But I think this team went in with a lot of confidence and played that way. Came out on the opening drive and scored. And I think really one of the big plays in the first half was Zay Wood's interception when it felt like South Carolina had some momentum. And Lenora Sellers was moving that offense really well. And then in the second half, pitched a shutout, and the defense has been really good, got 4 turnovers overall. And the offense did what it needed to do and being efficient and having good balance. And so I think for this Vanderbilt team, it was, you wonder, okay, how are they going to perform against a team that's considered one of the nation's best on the road, SEC opener, all those different elements, and it felt like the team passed with flying colors.
That said, and this may not be a fair question because, again, as we covered, as you were coming on before you came on, South Carolina was without Lenora Sellers for a large part of this ball game. How good is South Carolina?
I think they're a really good team. They're more than Lenora Sellers. Now, I mean, there's no question Lenore's going out of the game hurt their chances of winning, but I didn't think that was the entire game. And I think even if he had played all 4 quarters, I felt like Vanderbilt still had a great chance to win. I hope he's okay and able to come back this week and have a terrific season. He's an outstanding player, and I hated to see it that he went out of the game. But they have some weapons, man. Nick Harbor. Wow, if that dude continues to refine his skills as a receiver, catching the ball, running the routes, and all those things, there aren't many guys you're going to look at and say that dude looks like an NFL prospect as much as Nick Harbor. He has world-class speed. He has size. He's big. He's about 6'5" at about 240 or something like that. He is a guy who I think has a fantastic future. Over on defense, they have certainly some terrific players on there. Not quite the same collection of draftable defensive linemen that we saw last year. I think they had 5 guys go in the first 4 rounds or something like that. I mean, that defensive unit they had on the field last year was really something to watch. And I thought toward the end of 2024, that South Carolina team was playing about as well as anybody in the country. But I think they're a good team. Again, I guess a lot of it depends on Sellers' health and how he's able to come back and play. I hope he is just fine and able to get back and be good to go. But I think they have another good future or good season in store, for the near future in 2025. I think they're a good football team, and certainly their home stadium gives them a big advantage. And playing big games in Williams-Brice Stadium is going to be a thing that will serve them well. And I think Shane Beamer's done a good job with that program. Again, he had them right on the doorstep of making the playoff last year, if not for a couple early season losses.
Kevin, as Vanderbilt's schedule has unfolded here, seemingly the tests have gotten harder each and every single week, and I'm curious with you, obviously, right there, what have you maybe been most impressed by through 3 weeks against increasing difficulty thus far from Vanderbilt?
I think I've just been impressed with their attention to detail. I mean, they've come in ready to go in all 3 games, and also overcoming some adversity in that Virginia Tech game for sure. I mean, falling behind and turn it over a couple times, but it's a team that has a lot of older guys on it. And Diego Pavia, if you have him, you feel like you always have a chance to win just by his leadership and his attitude and just his spirit that never out of a game and really never out of a play. I mean, you see out there on the edge throwing a block and that sort of thing. But I really, for as well as the offense has played, I've been super impressed with the defense. I've been impressed with how these guys have played up front. I've been impressed with how physical they've been on both sides of the football. The offensive line has performed well. They cleaned up some of the penalties this past week. The defensive front, they've really built some good depth there to where they're able to rotate guys and not have any drop-off in quality. Back to the offense for a second. Jordan White, our center, won SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week today, and I think that was well-deserved for a guy who does a good job of leading that offensive front. So I think the physical play up front maybe is the most impressive thing I've seen so far.
Steve, Kevin, I want to also ask you, I say Steve, that'll make sense in a second, because I want to ask you, so much about the offense has been discussed, but what about the defense? That's Steve Gregory in his, kind of early stages of his Vanderbilt career as the coordinator. What have you seen out of the defensive unit that's got you excited?
I think the speed and the size, and I love the linebacker core. I've said that all along, that I think that is probably one of the best groups of linebackers that anybody has in the country. It was unfortunate. You lose a key piece there with Langston Patterson being disqualified with the targeting call in the first half. But you have so much depth there that you really don't have a lot of drop-off. You could play Bryce Count a little bit more, and Brian Longwell's been outstanding, and Nick Rinaldi's having a good season. So, I mean, you have really good depth there to where, if somebody has to go out, your next man up is going to be a man who's really good. I love that defensive group, but it just feels like across the board, they have better depth, they have better speed. And I always think that stats don't necessarily tell the story of how defensive players are playing. I mean, you may not look at Miles Capers and see tons of tackles or sacks or any of that just yet through 3 games, but I feel like he's making a big impact on games with his ability to come off the edge. He grabbed a fumble the other night, and he was still holding the football when he got to the post-game press conference or got to our post-game interview. That game was really special for him because he's from Sumter, South Carolina, which is about an hour down the road from Columbia. But yeah, I just, CJ Hurd had a big game. He had a dozen tackles. You definitely notice him from that safety spot. So they had some key spots to fill on the defense, but they filled them well. And that group's just really playing well. And, as far as having Steve Gregory now, the defensive play caller, I don't think a whole lot has changed in terms of terminology or strategy or just the feel of the defense because he was here last season and worked with Clark Lee and kind of understood how the whole thing worked and I think both our play callers have done a great job so far.
Kevin Ingram joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia as we talk a little Vanderbilt football. The Commodores with a 31-7 win over at South Carolina over the weekend. Their first win at Columbia since 2007. First win over South Carolina since the following season, 2008. First road win over an AP Top 25 opponent since that win back in 2007. South Carolina was number 6 at that time. This was their first SEC game, which means Vanderbilt has won its SEC opener for the first time since 2011. A lot of firsts, or a lot of first-time senses for the Commodores. And one of the biggest, I guess, is Vanderbilt is 3-0 to start the season for the first time since 2017. I mean, this start, and, the schedule kind of fell right for them. Charleston Southern, Virginia Tech, who they had beaten last year, probably had a lot of confidence going into that game, and then a winnable game against South Carolina. But you still got to go out there and do it. And the fact that they did, I think says something.
It really does, Mo. I mean, yeah, I mean, you got to play the games and do what's on your schedule. But yeah, there were a lot of fun first, and you're talking about those wins in 07 and 08, and that was when Bobby Johnson was coach, and he of course was a Columbia, South Carolina native. He grew up, as he told the story, selling soft drinks at Williams-Brice Stadium back in those days. And I remember how meaningful that was for him to win that football game and go in there when South Carolina was ranked in the top 10. I remember it was one of those early games, like 11 or 11:30 start, and you kind of catch them napping a little bit. Next thing you know, you're late in the game. You got a chance to win, and Vanderbilt was able to get the job done that day. And then the following year was a really cranked up atmosphere at our place when South Carolina came in to play. And I seem to remember that it was early in the season, and Vanderbilt got the victory there too to make it back to back. But man, it's been a long stretch since those games. And Clark was talking about. We recorded our coaches show a little bit earlier today, and that was one of the first things I asked him. And he had talked about it on Saturday too, how meaningful it was to go there and win at South Carolina, where his coach Bobby Johnson won back in 07 and also was a native of that area, and how much Bobby and Catherine meant to him. And I just thought that stuff was really neat and special to hear Coach Lee talk about it.
Yeah, that 2007 game, Kevin, I actually covered that game, and I'm glad it was early, because I wound up having to write about 4 stories out of it after it was over with.
Right.
Won. So, 7 o'clock game would not have done me any good at all. But yeah, nice win for Vanderbilt this weekend, and 4 turnovers, which gives Vanderbilt turnovers in 5 straight games, going back to that defense that you were talking about a little bit ago. And when you're going to get a couple of takeaways, that makes things a little bit easier for everybody as well.
Yeah, it sure does. I mean, those are game changers. And, the one by Zay Wood early in the game really was maybe the biggest of the 4 when it flipped the momentum of the game right there when South Carolina was starting to get rolling. But, 3 more in the second half. I thought maybe as big as the turnovers, we're getting a couple stops on 4th down when South Carolina was in a spot where they decided to go for it and Vanderbilt was able to get off the field. Those are almost like turnovers as well, where you typically get the ball in decent field position if you're able to get those stops on 4th down. So, yeah, the defense being able to rise up and make some big plays. And, yeah, you had 4 turnovers caused and grabbed by 4 different players in that game for Vanderbilt. So, yeah, you want to see those keep coming, because those are things that really change football games.
Kevin, other big question and storyline coming out of the game was circled around Theo Vaughn, and so I'm curious: will you be providing play-by-play for the supposed date between Diego Pavia's mother and Theo now?
No, I hope not. I mean, I actually, I heard that story, and some of those guys were out of practice back last week, and look, I'm a little on the older end of the spectrum here, and I don't know much about Theo Vaughn or some of the other content creators that might show up. I actually saw Theo on the sideline on Saturday and just talked to him for a second, but I don't know enough to really even know what Theo or some of the other folks do that I've seen over there, either on the sideline or at practice. But yeah, that was some funny stuff, though. I mean, Diego's such a character. I mean, that stuff is right up his alley. So I thought that was pretty entertaining.
Hey, that leads to, I guess, a bigger question, Kevin, is Vanderbilt is obviously backing it up with wins, but man, they are breaking through for a university that kind of is traditionally super buttoned up. With Pavia really kind of obviously leading the charge, they are really kind of bursting onto the scene in a pop culture kind of sense these days.
They really are, and I think that's part of what makes it fun. I mean, you have Clark Lee, who is, he is a very straightforward, old school, hard nosed dude, but also, he's in his 40s, so I mean he's not that far removed from his fun days of being in college and that sort of thing. So I think he gives them some leeway as long as they take care of business and you win football games. Those things become a lot easier. But I think he likes to see the guys having fun and enjoying playing football and enjoying the success that they're having. And when it's time to be serious and do the work and put in the work, there's a whole lot of that. But I think it's a sort of a fun contrast when you look at Coach Lee versus Diego Pavia, who's that dude is just a lot of fun all the time, and he's not the only one on this team by any stretch. So those things are cool and fun to see.
Kevin, again, Vanderbilt breaking into the Associated Press top 25 this week with that win, coming in at number 20, one of 11 teams from the Southeastern Conference in the top 25. Feels like they should have already been there, but still, they are there. Another feather in their cap early on.
Yeah, for sure. 20th in the AP and 23rd in the coaches poll this week. And, the thing that really surprised me is that Vanderbilt only got one vote in the AP poll last week after that win at Virginia Tech, and certainly made some more believers after the victory against South Carolina. It was funny. You go into that South Carolina game, and South Carolina is ranked number 11. Vanderbilt's getting one vote. But to me, and I think everybody who really paid attention or knows about these teams, they knew that there was a whole lot closer of a matchup than that. But yeah, it's nice to see Vanderbilt getting that recognition, and now you want to keep that ranking and maybe continue to build on it. And those things are what they are. I mean, it's all about stacking wins and going out there and being successful no matter what you're ranked or what you're not ranked. But Vanderbilt will try to get in there and win a game as a ranked team on Saturday night against Georgia State at First Bank Stadium.
Against Georgia State. No scores to settle in that one, right?
Yeah, that was a tough one last year down in Atlanta. And, you go down there and it's not a super cranked up, charged up atmosphere. And it was kind of rainy and just, an old sort of ugly night weather-wise. And Vanderbilt still had a chance to win the game late, and Georgia State made some plays. But I think if there's any worry about these players being focused and ready to go for Georgia State, I think you can throw all that out the window, because you got a lot of guys back from last year that remember what happened in that game, and I think they'll have Vanderbilt's full attention this week.
Which shouldn't be very good for the Panthers if that is in fact the case. Kevin, I don't know how much you got to see of it, if any, but any thoughts from the black and gold folks that you were with regarding that Georgia-Tennessee game? Obviously, they had a lot on their plate to take care of themselves, but any kind of, mention or talk or, we saw this or anything like that?
I wasn't able to really focus on it too much because we were kind of in our pregame and that sort of thing there in South Carolina. I mean, we were tracking the score and, keeping track of what was going on. And, from just a college football fan perspective, that was a terrific football game. But yeah, the SEC is always tough. Every game is a total grind, and it's weird for Vanderbilt to not play Georgia. I mean, that was a staple of the schedule for years and years. To not have Georgia, Florida, or Ole Miss on the schedule anymore is really strange to somebody like me who's seen all these seasons for all these years, and those are teams that you always knew were coming up. We'll see Tennessee later on. That'll be at Neyland later on in the season, but you kind of get ready for that game when it happens. So, I really wasn't able to focus a whole lot on it. Again, I saw the schedule and sort of knew what happened, but that was about it.
There you go. The 3-0 Commodores getting set to take on visiting Georgia State. That's a 6:30 kick over at First Bank Stadium. Kevin, we appreciate you taking some time with us this afternoon. Obviously, look forward to catching up with you again here later in the season.
Anytime, guys. Always fun and always great again to see the logo, but more importantly to talk about what's going on with Vanderbilt, and hopefully our team can continue to be successful. And anytime, always happy to join you.
Thank you, sir.
Kevin.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Throwback Thursday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's David Wilson. Joining us now from Main Street, Nashville, and other points, it's Joe Sullivan, talking a little local basketball. Joe, good afternoon.
Fellas, how you doing? I have a question for Dave. I noticed he had on his Twitter account, he has a picture of he's at Notre Dame. Can you explain this to me?
I'm just a Notre Dame fan. You know, growing up, they were always on NBC for me. I went to a Catholic school growing up, so it is not a bandwagon after last year's national title run. Going to Catholic school growing up, even though I was not Catholic, and making the trip up there a couple years ago when Tennessee State made the trip kind of sealed the deal for me and the mom as Fighting Irish fans. So I'm going through it, though. That was not a holding on that last play. It was a tackle. It was a tackle on the last play against Texas A&M. So you can tell I'm still a little bitter about it. Mixed feelings, though, because of Marcel Reed being an NBA and wishing him all the success in the world. But I'm going through it with my Fighting Irish being 0-2.
I'm with you, by the way. I am also a Notre Dame fan, so that's why I brought it up.
Well, we all have our faults. I'm torn because I really like Marcus Freeman. Mm-hmm. And I think he's a great dude, and I think he's a great coach. So it's a little harder for me to root against Notre Dame. And I was kind of hoping I didn't want CJ Carr to get hurt or anything like that, but I thought it would have been really cool if Kenny Minchie from JP2 could have gotten in the other night, and you'd have had two mid-state quarterbacks on the field. But yeah, I've softened a little toward Notre Dame. So, I mean, I can kind of empathize with you guys going through it at 0-2, and that was a tough way to lose one. And you're right, David. I've been waiting all week for you to, you know, kind of go off on that play. But, yeah.
If they join a conference, do you feel better about them, Mo?
I would feel a little bit better about them if they would join a conference, actually, because they get to get the best of both worlds. And I've kind of gone off on this tangent on numerous occasions on here and elsewhere. Yeah, they really need to get into a conference. I mean, for me, clearly not for them. So, no. You know, but yeah, at any rate, again, everybody's got their flaws, and clearly the Golden Dome is y'all's. But Joe, tell me about local hoops. I mean, everybody's doing some type of practicing or something these days. There's a lot going on, and it's not as far off as we'd like to think, I don't guess.
Yeah. So most of the work that goes on during the summer is individual skills that are emphasized. There's not really full team practices. There's a time limit on it. So full team practices beginning, I'm not sure the exact date, but it could be as early as tomorrow. I mean, it's soon that these teams are going to really start practicing. And then I think I will certainly be going to observe some of these practices and try to get an idea of how good some of these local teams can be this season. So we'll know more later. That's not helping your show today when I say that, right?
That's okay. It's okay. they call that a tease. You know, that means you'll be back to talk more later.
I did have to vote on the Missouri Valley Conference preseason poll this week.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, which is normally it's. I thought last year was a lot more difficult, and then Drake, of course, became a great story. I had no idea that was going to happen 1 year ago that Drake would be that good. It's more obvious this year, and I think there's a top five that's pretty clear in the Missouri Valley, being Illinois State, Bradley, Belmont, Northern Iowa, and Murray State. Maybe Southern Illinois, and those are the best teams in that league, I think. And I feel pretty confident.
So still no Drake, huh?
Drake, of course, lost their coach to Iowa, and he took their best player, the player of the year in the league, with him. So the coach that took over is from South Dakota State, who's had some success there. So I guess I could be proven wrong again, Mo. It's happened before.
South Dakota State. That's the Jackrabbits, right?
You got it. Yeah, a great nickname, right?
Okay, absolutely, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe, Mark Byington. If ever ABC applied to a coach, it seems like it's Mark Byington over at Vanderbilt. ABC always be recruiting, right? I mean, they just
yeah, he's just signed a couple of players, some big, probably. I would think we'd have to say that two of the best recruits he's gotten since he's been there. And isn't it's strange to hear about recruits rather than transfers?
It really is.
We really have no idea about these recruits, except that they're highly regarded. So that's good. You want to start with that. I will say one other thing about Byington. This is going to come kind of out of left field, but the Vanderbilt basketball team was at the American Cancer Society's Hope Lodge last night, which, if people listening don't know what the Hope Lodge is, it's a facility right on Charlotte Pike there in Nashville where people who are being treated for cancer can stay free of charge while they're being treated. And it is, I guess you could say this, I don't mean this trivially, but it's like a Ronald McDonald House for adults.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really a necessary aspect of the treatment that's needed for people who come from a lot of far reaches of Tennessee, where they have to come to Nashville to be treated. Right. And anyway, Mark Byington brought his team to Hope Lodge and served dinner to the residents at Hope Lodge last night. And isn't that a great thing, doing that this time of year?
That's really cool. Because I can't imagine anybody that's listening to us who hasn't been touched in some way, shape, or form, unfortunately, by cancer. And
true,
to your point, Vanderbilt is a well-recognized, leader in that treatment. And so people do come from long distances. Not everybody is fortunate enough to just be able to drive in and drive home or whatever when they're being treated. So they're serving a great purpose, Hope Lodge is. And so that's really cool to hear that the team took part in something like that. And that's, again, I have to, I got to be careful when I start talking about this. So,
Understood, Mo. It's an emotional issue. And hey, I'll talk to your listeners if you.
No, I'm good. It's cool to hear that they did something like that, and it's not trivial. I don't think. I think when folks can think beyond themselves, sometimes it's a good thing.
Yeah, no, isn't that a great lesson? You're absolutely right. And look, I'll say it to your listeners: if you're moved by something like that, knowing that Vanderbilt was over there, the American Cancer Society could always use some money as they continue to try to cure the disease of cancer that, as Mo said, affects all of us in some way, for sure. Boy, I didn't know we were going to talk about that, Mo.
But, to get back to the recruiting, though, it's something that's a little less touching.
Yeah,
and not nearly as important, but it's a big deal. Jackson Sheffield out of Alabama, 6'9", 240. A 4-star committed this week. Ethan Mbako, 4-star, 6'6", 215. Byington's getting some size.
Yeah, well, they could use it. And we talked about it all last season, about how they just weren't big enough. And it eventually stop them from doing better, greater things. I mean, that was a great season. You don't want to diminish what they accomplished, but if they had more size, they might have even had a better season. So either working that way, and through the transfer portal, they're going to have more sizes this year with the kid Washington coming from North Carolina, and Devin McLaughlin, the six. I don't know what they list him at. He's about 6'6". I mean, he's not going to have to play center anymore.
Right.
And he could cause he can cause a lot of damage playing out of the power forward position this season.
I'm really intrigued by the kid out of North Carolina and the kid out of Jacksonville State, who were high school teammates that both have wound up at Vanderbilt. And yeah, like you said, they are both right around 6'10" each, so they have really tried to upsize after really kind of struggling with 5-point guards on the floor on a lot of occasions last year. So really intrigued by what Coach Byington is going to get done in his second year and what he's already getting done on the recruiting trail with a couple of high school seniors that he's gotten commitments from here over the last little bit. Sheffield apparently had offers from Maryland, from Memphis, from Tennessee, and from the Crimson Tide. He chose Vanderbilt over all of those. So,
well, that's good company that Vanderbilt's involved with.
Feels like. So, yeah, I think Vanderbilt fans have to be enthused with what they saw in year one out of Byington and what they're seeing as they head into year two.
Yeah, absolutely. And so look, they still have a bunch of transfers. They have some. We mentioned Devin McLaughlin and Tyler Nichols also back. So they have some returning players, which they didn't have really last year. And so we have to see how the transfers that are coming in mesh with the returnees before we're going to really make a call on them. Boy, I'm really being wishy-washy today, Mo, aren't I? And I'll try to stop that. And
well, it's early.
It is.
Yeah, we don't know a whole lot, so it's okay.
It is, but they have a chance to be good again. They really do.
Joe, now that we are back in class and that kind of thing, and the movement, theoretically speaking, has stopped, I guess, who do you feel like, and it's conjecture, but who do you feel like has kind of improved themselves locally?
I think Vanderbilt would be the first. I think that we can look at each one. Vanderbilt has some transfers. We mentioned Washington from North Carolina coming in as being a real key one. But let's take Belmont, for instance. Belmont really has most of their roster back. But two transfers hold a key, and that's Isaiah West, the former Vanderbilt player, now at Belmont, and Nick McLean, who played at Eastern Washington last year. Casey Alexander needs one of them to become a really good point guard for this team because they have other pieces in place. But that's really that's the only two transfers that are significant for Belmont. Lipscomb now, Kevin Carroll, the new coach, replacing Lenny Acuff, who went to Sanford, had to pretty much rebuild his team. So transfers are really going to be key for him. What I'm hearing a little bit is he has a kid coming from I think it's Lubbock Christian. He did spend some time at TCU. His name is Ethan Duncan. Shooter, only 6 feet tall. He's going to be a critical player for them. And then a guy named, I got to make sure I get my names right here. No, Carrie Middleton, I think it is, comes from Anderson College in Indiana. So Division II guy moving up. Not sure about him. Mm-hmm. And then Middle Tennessee, I think, is really most of what they're going to have is going to be returning players led by Kamari Lands that are going to hold the key for them. And then we have Tennessee State. So I don't know. The best thing that happened to Tennessee State was naming Nolan Smith the new coach. And I think we talked about this the last time I was on, Mo, didn't we? That he had a great press conference. And now he went out and hired a tremendous staff, in my opinion, that he hired DeMar Johnson, the former NBA player, started at Cincinnati as one of his assistants, Vince Taylor, who's also a fellow Duke player like Nolan Smith. And then a guy named Delonte Hill, who has a great reputation as a recruiter originally in the D.C. area, but there is someone who can help him get players. So look, I asked Nolan Smith at his press conference, is this your team? Because at that point there was still time, maybe they could change the roster. But he said, this is the team for this season. But I'm going to guarantee you, I'm not going to be wishy-washy here, Mo. I'm going to guarantee you a year from now, that Tennessee State roster will be completely overturned, and we'll see what the full effect of Nolan Smith coming to that school is.
Joe, you mentioned just there really quickly talking about Lipscomb. This is a topic that probably hits a little close to home to me as a former Trevecca Trojan, seeing Kevin Carroll move over from the purple and white back to Lipscomb to take over the Bison for Lenny Acuff, who he was on the bench for prior to going to Trevecca. So maybe go a little bit more in depth for me on your thoughts and expectations. Obviously, you mentioned a lot of turnover on the Bison roster, but some thoughts and expectations for Kevin Carroll in year one at the helm.
Yeah. So, by the way, they open at Vanderbilt on the opening night. It's Lipscomb at Vanderbilt. Now, Vandy, and I'm going to answer your question, I'm not dodging, is been how can I say criticized for not playing the local schools over the years. But Lipscomb is going to play at Vanderbilt opening night, and I think based on what I see and I've heard, I think it's going to be a really tough first season for Kevin. I think he needs to probably work on this roster again next offseason. And I think that the players that are returning are not proven stars. They were a veteran team last year, and all those guys are gone. And the one young player I've heard some good things about is Kennedy Okara. I don't know. So his brother plays for Tennessee, and he's going to be a freshman. He might see some playing time. He could actually see a lot of playing time. So I think when you're relying on a player like we talked about, Ethan Duncan, who comes from Lubbock Christian, as being an NAIA school, I believe, going to be someone who's key for you. He's also bringing his point guard over from Trevecca. If these are the type of people he's relying on, these are not players coming from Division I colleges. I think this could be a very tough first season for Kevin Carroll.
Not what David wanted to hear, but that's okay.
I wish him well.
Sometimes it's what you need to hear.
Dude. He's a really good dude.
He is a good dude. He has been a friend of the show. We've had him on a couple of times. Really have enjoyed spending time with Kevin and wishing him nothing but the best. But I think it was Joe, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was probably going to be a tough situation whoever took that job.
Yeah, I think that's true. Right. It's there was enough veteran play, and they had that tight group that had played together for years, and they were all out of eligibility. So you're right. It was going to be tough for anyone. It would have been tough for Lenny if he had stayed.
I wonder if that had anything to do with him not staying. Anyway, Joe Sullivan joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, talking a little basketball as it's practice is right around the corner, which means that the season isn't far behind. But Joe, obviously you mentioned MTSU and Kamari Lands and some of the guys that they're going to have back. They got some folks out of the portal as well, but it feels like, finally, Nick McDevitt has some positive momentum going into a season and kind of something to build on to some degree.
Yeah, possibly. But I think what's going to be key for them is some development of players that are already there rather than the transfers. So we've talked about these guys, Jared Hall, who when we first mentioned him, you corrected me, Mo, on my pronunciation of Lebanon. Did I do it right that time?
Lebanon.
And
there you go. You're good.
And Javon Carter. These are local kids that came back to Middle Tennessee in the portal last year and didn't play, but have some talent. So I think that's going to be key. And also the development of Torrey Alston, very athletic forward they have. And
he's fun to watch, man.
He is. Yeah, he's a great dunker. He's really entertaining dunker. One thing about I was just looking over some of the schedules before I came on here, and they have Nick scheduled 2 very tough road games at Michigan and at Houston this year, and that should be, I admire the effort, so to speak.
Yeah, and that's those are interesting because I mean you feel like the outcome you feel like the outcome was pretty well in hand almost as soon as the contracts were signed, but at the same time, yeah, and you've been around this game, Joe. What is it that as a mid-major coach, what are you looking for out of that? Is it the exposure? Is it, let's go and let's see how close we can get? What is it that you're or you feeling like maybe you can catch lightning in a bottle and somebody can knock in 35 for you and have you around at the end?
Well, I think knowing Nick and knowing how Middle Tennessee's been a quality program for a lot of years, that they're thinking about the upset. I don't think these games happen without the cash, though. That I wonder if he didn't have to play him, would he? And that's actually a good question for the next time I talk to him. We'll find out. How about that?
Okay.
I wish I had an answer for you today.
There you
But I think a school of Middle Tennessee should think about winning these games. Maybe that wouldn't be the same thing for Tennessee State going on the road to Michigan and Houston. They can't. That's probably not going to happen.
Anything?
One last thing is some coaches like these as recruiting aspects too. That if you come, we're going to play these games, and that's appealing to some players.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and I can see where it would be. You're not in a league where you're going to see those kind of folks, but it feels like athletes want the opportunity to measure themselves against the best. And so if you can say, hey, we're going to go play a team that played in the national championship game, that's
right.
It's not a bad thing. So
it isn't.
Okay. All right. Anything that you are working on, anybody that you got an eye on here as things get ready to really get cranked up here over the next little bit?
Well, there's one thing I might mention, Mo, is Tyler Lundblade, the Belmont sharpshooter who led the nation in 3-point shooting last year. Got a little plaque for it this summer, and I didn't even know they did that. And but there was a video of him taken at practice that I guess we can say. Do I sound stupid saying it went viral? Do I sound too old, like Boomer Dad? And it is he was shooting threes in practice, and he made 174 of 179 in practice. And at one point, he had 68 in a row. So I guess he's warming up. And he wants to repeat as the best 3-point percentage shooter in the country.
Shoot, right?
Yeah, he is. And look, he did not go into the transfer portal, but I know that he had chances, people encouraging him to do that. But he remained loyal to Belmont and Casey Alexander and is returning. And I could say he's set to have a big season, but he's going to be more of a target for defenses this season, where he was kind of a surprise last season. And you know how that can work sometimes.
He's not going to sneak up on anybody, that's for sure.
Yeah, so it was to see. But that was an interesting little video put out by Belmont that he had such a great shooting practice.
There we go. Joe Sullivan, you can find his work at mainstreetnashville.com. Joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Joe, as always, we appreciate it and look forward to catching up with you more as the season gets closer.
Thanks for having me. Always a good time.
All right. Let's take a break here. Let's get into our final segment here on Throwback Thursday on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. We'll come back. We'll get into the grab bag. Stick around.
Being in Tennessee, we wanted to try to keep it as local as possible, so we have an entire section of our menu that is just dedicated to local whiskeys like Uncle Nearest, Jack Daniels, of course, George Dickel, Nelson Brothers, Greenbrier Whiskey, and all of our taps are all local. From 2 o'clock until midnight, we've got food every day for you guys. A good handful of appetizers, some entrees, and a couple salads and things like that. My name is Ethan Kanata. Please come down and see us at the Pick Lobby Bar here at the Omni in Nashville.
There's a line that links us all, Most of the time, we don't even think about it. But it's everywhere. Illuminating our neighborhoods, empowering our businesses, and helping us to recharge. Whether it comes from our grids, the sun, or a kind heart, we believe in the power of good energy. And as your family and region continue to grow, you can trust that we'll always be there for you. Middle Tennessee Electric, bringing good energy.
It's the final segment of Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's David Wilson. Thursday night football on Amazon Prime. Winless Miami. Lossless Buffalo. What do you like about this one, D-Dub?
I do not like the fact that I'm playing against an opponent who has the the Buffalo defense in fantasy this week. So I need Tua to wake up. I need to shake him, get him and Tyreek Hill going.
Don't shake him too much.
Just to show you how. If I say he might get a concussion. I'll say this: I have the same fantasy record as I told Heather yesterday as her Kansas City Chiefs. So not good. So we need to avoid an 0-3 start to the season. So hopefully I get on the right track this week. I guess not even any of my guys going, but hoping the other guys' team doesn't do so well. Mo, I think I have a good team. I mean, Jaden Daniels, Christian McCaffrey, Kyron Williams. You can't go wrong right there. It's just the production from the others has not been. I had Xavier Worthy, who has got hurt very quickly. So we're struggling over here.
I saw a tweet earlier this week. Somebody had the Cowboys kicker and started.
I played against them last week.
Well, this guy started his other kicker instead of the Cowboys kicker. And it's like, why do you have two kickers? Why do you have two kickers if one of them is Brandon? And why are you not? Why are you not kicking Brandon Aubrey? And all valid questions. It felt like so. Somebody needs to. It sounds like whoever that fantasy team owner was is taking his cue from the Cowboys' real owner. I don't know, but at any rate, you've got 0-2 Miami going to 2-0 Buffalo tonight against 7:15 kick on Amazon Prime. And
is this the final straw for Mike McDaniel in your minds? If they lose to Buffalo and start 0-3,
well, I mean, even if they were 2-0, would you have expected them to necessarily beat Buffalo? I mean, I don't know that you can fire a guy for losing to Buffalo.
I know, but it's the way their seasons have ended. Their lack of postseason success. You know, he's been known when he was with San Francisco as this innovative offensive play caller, and they've really struggled. I mean, Tyreek Hill has not had a catch over 30 yards in a long time, or some stat like that. You know, him and Tua are not connecting. Tua never stays healthy. And some would say, and just me watching national television, they are a soft football team, which is not something that you want to be told. You smile, but it's the truth. It's not good to be called soft.
No.
And they're considered soft.
That ain't good. That ain't good.
We'll see.
I will tell you at least one guy who I feel like would fight you over his team being called soft, and you can find him at Centennial High School tomorrow night. Tyrell Dodson's number is being retired between the first and second quarter of the Cougars matchup against visiting Antioch. And so, Dave, head on down to Mallory Lane tomorrow night. Tell Tyrell his team's soft. Let me know how that goes. Take a photographer with you. But heck of an honor for the Centennial graduate, former Mr. Football selection out of Centennial, who has gone on to a career first at Texas A&M with the Buffalo Bills, with the Seahawks, and most recently with Miami, obviously. 6th year in the league. And obviously with the Dolphins playing tonight, this allows him to get back to town to take in this honor tomorrow night. And You know, I'm interested in how long he's going to be there, to be honest, because his younger brother, I won't call him little, but his younger brother, Tyshawn Dodson, is a freshman at Columbia Central, and they've got a home game tomorrow night against Lawrence County. So I don't know if he's going to have a trooper accompany him from Mallory Lane down to Lindsey Nelson Stadium tomorrow night or what. But Tyrell Dodson's number is being retired during Centennial's game against Antioch tomorrow night. A great honor for a great individual. Wish I could be there, but I got other obligations as well. Speaking of professional football, though, Tavondre Sweat, who has been limited by an ankle injury, expects apparently to be back for the Titans matchup with Indianapolis this weekend. Much needed, because included on that Indianapolis roster is one Jonathan Taylor, who is one of the better running backs in the league, obviously, and enjoys doing so against the Titans.
Mo, they haven't punted yet. With Danny Dimes at quarterback, they haven't punted yet.
Is that not amazing? I just continue to be intrigued by how all of a sudden this guy is finally living up to the expectations that accompanied him coming out of Duke. I just don't think I've seen a quarterback take this long to really hit it and then hit it the way he has to this point. And
well, I would raise you Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay. I mean, he got cut from the Browns, I believe. Cut from the Panthers.
Got cut from who?
The Panthers.
And who else?
And the Rams.
No, and the Browns.
And the Browns.
I mean,
okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Daniel Jones shows you the dumpster fire that is the New York Giants.
That's fair. That's fair. I'll take that. Yeah. Yeah. I can't tell you you're wrong. And so maybe it's that simple. I don't know. But yeah, the Titans really kind of have their work cut out for them, trying to get, as you said, Danny Dimes and Jonathan Taylor and that Indianapolis offense slowed down this weekend, and having Tavondre Sweat would certainly increase their chances of doing so, you feel like. So
yeah, and we would be remiss not to mention the friend of the show, Mike Keith, getting inducted into the Ring of Honor on Sunday as well. We mentioned that yesterday on the show with Blaine Keller. So I know there's going to be a lot of happy fans to see him back in this, I guess, in Nissan Stadium. In a cool setting on Saturday when Tennessee takes on UAB. Obviously, Mike Keith going to be on the radio call for the Vols, but Taylor Zarzour has the call for SEC Network. So they're going to be in the building together calling the same game on Saturday. Then they'll be on the same building together on Sunday. Pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. And you know, any honor that Mike Keith gets, he is most deserving of. And it's great that the Titans are recognizing him in such a manner, you know, so quickly, really. I mean, so great honor for him. Local kid, local boy, done well, obviously. And this is it's great that they are able to recognize him in such a manner. Speaking of SEC football, next week, apparently, according to reports, the Southeastern Conference will announce its 16 members, 9-game schedules for the 2026 season, and rivalry teams will be announced as well for each of the 16 programs. So I'm sure a lot of people will be awaiting that with bated breath.
Surely they will take it easy on Florida, considering the juggernaut of the schedule they have faced the last couple of years. And I'm not saying that jokingly. I mean, having to play Miami, Florida State in their own state, plus LSU, Georgia, Tennessee. I mean, their SEC schedule has been a nightmare. Their schedule overall has been a nightmare. But looking forward to seeing that. You know, Mo, really quickly, I think if Vanderbilt would have gotten an easier schedule this year and not had to play Texas, LSU, Alabama, etc., I thought Vanderbilt is like a sneaky college football playoff contender, and that's words never spoken before. But if they would have got the right mix in my eyes, they could have made some noise. And, you know, they still can, but we're looking ahead and thinking about future losses.
You know, at this point, I'm just not sure you can count this team out. I mean, right now they're 3-0. They've got Georgia State coming to town Saturday, and I'm intrigued by just how bad that's going to be because after what happened last year in Atlanta, if Clark Lee scores 50, it will be because they couldn't score 60, I feel like. I just think that they're going to name their number. Then they've got Utah State coming up before they get Alabama. So, I mean, they could be 5-0. They should be 5-0 going into Alabama. So,
should be.
it's still all out there in front of them. And to your point, when have we really talked about Vanderbilt in that manner? So, looking forward to that. Again, looking forward to next week when these schedules and these permanent rivals are announced as part of that 9-game schedule that will begin across the Southeastern Conference in 2026. News out of Stillwater. Former North Alabama quarterback Noah Walters is now in the Oklahoma State quarterback room, was added to their roster officially yesterday. And it's interesting. He went into the portal out of North Alabama, I guess, after the 2023 season, attended classes at UCF last year, but did not join the football program. And so he's immediately eligible. Native of Lincoln, Nebraska, played 2 years at UNA. In 20 games over the 22 and 23 seasons, threw for 4,100 yards, 37 touchdowns, 21 picks, also rushed for 600 yards and 4 touchdowns. He was the Phil Steele Atlantic Sun Freshman of the Year in 2022 for UNA. So it's going to be interesting. I don't know how much they are expecting out of him, but he's on the roster, and I assume he will dress. I'm not sure who they've got this weekend, but I'm intrigued.
No middle ground for Mike. Yeah, there is no middle ground for Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State. It's either they love him or they want him fired immediately. So that is a dumpster fire. So best of luck to him. But goodness, the only thing I know Mike Gundy for is I'm a man. I'm 40. So
you realize that was more than
that's
10 years ago now, right?
He's 50.
At least. We mentioned WNBA during the rundown. We have 3 game threes, 2 tonight, 1 tomorrow night, and almost had a 4th. Golden State gave it all they had before Minnesota eventually pulled out a 75-74 victory. But, with 2 of the teams winning on their home court in the opening night, I guess Phoenix falling to the Liberty in Phoenix, you felt like all of these were going to wrap up fairly quickly, really. And so now, again, all of a sudden, we've got Atlanta going back home for a pivotal, obviously, in a best-of-3 series, game 3 against Indiana, and the Liberty going back to Phoenix to take on the Mercury tonight. So a couple of interesting matchups in game 3 with some teams that you would not necessarily have expected to be playing a game 3.
Yeah, I got my eyes on that Aces and Seattle Storm game as well. Las Vegas had every opportunity in the world on the other night to close out that series. The Storm go out on a 16-4 run to close the game, and so now the momentum swings. Although Las Vegas at home at Michelob Ultra Arena in Las Vegas, you just wonder if that carries over. With Seattle. Seattle has nothing to lose. They're the lower seed. They're not the favorite. They're going to come out with some energy and be ready to play.
Seattle has nothing to lose, but at the same time, you talk about championship pedigree a lot, and you feel like the Aces kind of have that. And I mentioned it on another subject yesterday, but they really feel like a team that you got to drive a stake through their heart. So I don't know. It'll certainly be worth watching, though. The Aces have now won 17 of their last 18 with that loss.
Yeah.
We shall see. That is going to do it for Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Be sure and join Wade Neely and me tomorrow at 2 o'clock as we get you ready for the weekend with the Wonder Slate, among other things. So we'll have Ben Arthur to talk a little Titans, and that all starts up at 2 o'clock tomorrow. We'll see y'all then.